Hey guys, I don't know about you, but when I look at the world right now, it seems to be an extremely crazy place. And it's a little bit like we're all holding our breaths waiting for something to happen. I'm feeling that something's up. If you are a light worker, starseed wanderer, you will have been feeling for a while that something is up. So in this video, I will share some insights on this, where we're going, what's happening, and how to deal with it. So I am Russell, and this is a Descended Masters channel because, of course, we are all Descended Masters on a journey of discovering and remembering who we are. So with that said, what's happening in the world? That's crazy. So just about every country is being upset with something, and it's happening in our social lives, politics. For instance, one big thing that I've noticed in the news now that's just hit around about this past year, so this is 2023, so about the past year or two, people have been talking about the demographic collapse, and this is where young people, young working people in countries around the world are not having children, and we are very worried. On the one hand, it's a good thing because the planet might be happier with fewer people on it consuming, but it also has consequences, economic consequences, for if populations become old and there's no young people to support them. So there's huge shifts happening. Now, because that type of thing is happening in many countries, where I look at that, I see here is a pattern. It's quite radical. It's quite unmistakable that something is going on. And it doesn't even have to have an esoteric meaning to it. What that phenomenon is pointing to is the fact that our systems of society are no longer working. The capitalism is no longer working. The family systems are no longer working. That's why people are not having children, because they simply can't afford to have them. The stress is too great. And they're questioning the whole thing about the whole received wisdom that you have to have families, pass from one generation to the next and the next and so on. People are getting the message, either internally or simply by society, that is collapsing, that this cannot go on. So now this is an important part of what I'm talking about. And what I am talking about is this ascension and this shift and how it is playing out in the world right now. So part of what we're feeling was making us feel agitated, and the feeling that something big is going to happen. Guys, it's already happening, and we're in the eye of the storm, as it were. Perhaps COVID was the start of the real intensification of this, but that changed the world. It changed how we work, our expectations. It stopped some of the runaway getting ahead story and made people reflect inwardly. It showed also how our vulnerability, our work and our jobs can be lost, health can be lost, loved ones can be lost, just like that. So we turned inward. But now the momentum is continuing. So now also in the outer world, structures are not holding up. So really, in a nutshell, what's happening is the shift. We're moving from the Piscean Age to the Aquarian Age, and it's happening now. Some people say it started in 2012. Whenever it was, it's intensifying. What it means is the breakdown of structures and everything from the family structure, as I've pointed out already, society and our jobs. Anything like with big buildings, top-down corporations, power structures is becoming unstable. Even stable democracies, one has doubts how stable they are. So something is happening undeniably, and it's intensifying, and it will intensify more. So I will now touch on some more reasons why this is happening, and I will get to what to do about it, how to navigate your way through. So here's where we take a little bit of a dive into the esoterics of it. And I'll use some wisdom from Ra, the Law of One teachings for this part, and others is generic Ascension material. So the Ascension stuff is saying that we are moving from third density, this three-dimensional world all around us, to either the fourth density or the fifth dimension, whatever system you use. But we know that means going from this rigid Newtonian physics world where everything has a place, There's a law of cause and effect. If you work hard, you'll get rewarded, that kind of stuff. That might have worked before, not working anymore. We are moving to something that is more heart-based. Those of you on a path, spiritual path, or identify as a light worker will be familiar with this aspect of it. What is catching us by surprise perhaps is the rapidity of it and the depth to which it happens and discomfort. So one aspect of this now that's happening is astrological. Now, the law of one material says, and Ra says in this, that every 25,000 years or so, there's a window of opportunity happens for ascension or for graduation. Why 25,000 years? Well, it's actually a bit more. It's more like closer to 26, and that is the precessional number. That is it's to do with the wobble. As the Earth rotates, it has a slight wobble, like a top. So the North Pole will wander about the sky in a circle like that. It takes just under 26,000 years. Now the ancients knew about this. That is why the stone temples, Graham Hancock goes into this quite a bit, that they had this knowledge and marked it in their temples. So this precessional number is important, but Ra brings the insight that this astrological movement, or this movement, this physical movement of the planet, opens up portals and chances to ascend. So what is happening now is at this time now, they say, that Ra material says that this time now, this changed the age of Aquarius, this time now is an end of a 25,000 year cycle. So the window is opening of graduation. On top of that, they say, not only is it the end of a 25-year cycle, it's the end of the 75,000 year master cycle. Did I say 75? Yeah, 75. So 75 is 3 times 25. So you have 3 of these 25,000 year precessional things in a 75-year-old grand cycle. And that 75,000 years is the duration of third density, and it's relatively short. If you think of second density, which is animal consciousness, that's been going for billions of years and will continue at that animal level. Human consciousness of third density has only been around, well, for about 75,000 years, at least on this planet with Earth humans, 75,000 years. So we're near at the end of that cycle. So this is why it's a momentous time. Now what happens at this, there's a huge window that opens up for what Ra calls the harvest. Now, don't get triggered by that name. It simply means at the end of this time, one is assessed, or one chooses, does one want to progress to fourth density, or does one want to stay and do another either 75,000 year grand cycle of 3D or another 25,000 smaller cycle. Now a lot of people will want to continue third density because they're at home here, they like the structure, they haven't yet completed all the lessons of it. They haven't learned the disappointments of 3D yet fully. Or there may be other things for them to gain. So Ra is saying that the only purpose of third density is for people to become aware of themselves as egos and then to make a choice. Which are you going to stay, or are you going to graduate, and which direction, once you've graduated into 4D, this is the important bit, which path are you going to follow, service to self or service to others? So now at this time, that's why things speed up. It is an urgency, because this is the lifetime, friends. This is the lifetime of decision. If you choose to stay at 3D, you will continue into another cycle. And apparently, according to this, it will take 25,000 years to jump ship again. I don't think one has to be here for that whole time. But that's why the Earth is so full of humans at the present. We've come for this event. And that, I think, one of the reasons why also there's sudden depopulation of people not having children, apart from the social pressures of it, is that simply there's not that many people wanting to come in, needing to come in now, because those who wanted to be here for this ending are here. We are making the decision now. Those who would be coming in now as young children have already decided. So this Earth apparently is already fourth density, and then Ra's teachings, fourth density here refers to a density of love frequency. If you follow the dimensional model, Fourth dimension is more like your astral level, imagination, dreams, astral travel. Fifth dimension is then the love, oneness level. And in that sense, we're traveling through fourth dimension quickly. We don't want to stay there too long, to fifth. So when I talk about fifth dimension or fourth density, it's kind of the same thing. It is the same thing. Dimension of love. The earth has already ascended. That is another reason why we are so agitated and why the world is agitated. This is getting to it now. The earth itself has shifted, but our structures are still largely third density. We still have more or less the same jobs, more or less the same structures, government structures. Everything, 99% of stuff is still 3D orientated. Now COVID came along and demolished a bit of that, so it helped ease that. That's why I'm not into the conspiracies of it. I think this is one of the ways that Earth will want to shift things and start to break things apart that don't fit its frequency. So now we're sitting here with just about everything. And even if you're a light worker, even if you're quite advanced spiritually, you will feel this anxiety because it can affect your family, it can affect your relationships, your job. And if you don't have a steady job, maybe you teach yoga or meditation, well then it's going to affect your clients and that will affect you. The general anxiety will be felt because nothing is being left untouched, because the earth has shifted in frequency. So that which does not align with that frequency, the cracks will show. And we all bought into it. Hey, we all had to survive. We all had to give up some of our wisdom, our joy and our love and our openness and our expansiveness to be born in the human body, to survive childhood. So there's that survival. We have these shells of surviving around us that limit us. And now we're asking to break that. We are asking to shed those layers. And it's not easy because what will come up is it's not safe. And that the world around us is also not feeling safe. It's going to become feel even stronger, not safe. So guys, this is part of it. So we have to bravely go and ease into the feeling of it's not safe. And then you breathe into it and become presence. So I'll talk more about this, but presence, you can guess, is one of the practices. Hard breathing and being in presence, being in the now. It's one of the teachings of the new earth, is the now. Because you're getting out of sight of the mind and the structures and into the heart and just being present now. Because there's no ways you can navigate this with the mind. The mind will not know. But you can go and rest in the heart, in the rest and become comfortable in not knowing. So back to the harvest. The purpose of this life is not to really to attain mastery. That's a bit beyond us. And also this third density. There's only a limit of what can be done because it's riddled with duality. The whole thing of 3D is duality. So if you gain here, wisdom here, you'll lose something there. So we need to lighten up ourselves a little bit and not aim for perfection, but aim for just to make the choice, the one choice. And that is, do you want to graduate to fourth density, love frequency? And if so, of which flavor? Service to self or service to others? Now, a little quick note about this. In 3D at the moment on the planet, we haven't decided, largely. We still, if a chance to benefit from evil comes along, most of us will take it. Even if it's just a little bit, we'll make a little bit of money on the side, not quite ethical ways. So that's service to self. But now this becomes a path of specialization in the upcoming dimensions and densities. Which part you want to specialize in. So here's how it works. We can call the one the light and the dark, positive and negative. You can refer lovely metaphors in Star Wars, which is the Jedi. I think it's the Sith, it's kind of the dark side of that same force. So God, in wanting to experience itself, said, let us go out, let us create that which is other to us. And And those who will govern and master that which is other will be that negative side, and those who will explore that which is more godlike, more me, more expansive, more love, will be of that light. So there's no judgment, because you need both to explore. Eventually they do come together. And it is unlikely that anyone watching this is service to self. So that is the dark orientation, and it basically both start from the same place, which is the deep knowing there's only one God and we're all connected. So both know this. Now service to others looks out and says, there's only one God and we're all connected. Then I am God and you must be God and you are God and it's all God. Wow. So whatever I do to you, I do to myself. So that connects through compassion and love to others as the self. So everybody then becomes me and is held in love, compassion. Now service to self looks out at the world, same world, and says, there's only one God, everything is connected, I am God. Must be because I feel inside me power. And this is an illusory world, therefore I can do to others as I would like to do, because I am God. And then my task becomes, how can I unite those others under my power, within me? So I, as the God of this world, how many can I get into my pyramid, into my downline, as it were? So these people will specialize in deception and power structures. So you can look out in the world and you'll see them in politics, cults. People are very, very skilled at getting people to hand over their power. So that is one of the things, if you can get someone to give up their free will, you've got them. So you amass free will for you because you are the God, and those are underlings, not quite human. And you can believe that you're doing best for them by choosing. So you ask that they will hand over free will, and you manipulate them to do so, and they will hand it over by free will. If they don't, they're allowed to refuse, and they go off. You won't chase them. But you'll see in cults, it's very fascinating, because how willingly people will hand over their power. And innocently they're trying to find something good. Innocently they say, if I just hand it over to this beautiful person, it seems beautiful, he will do what's right for me, and I will then ascend. I will find happiness. That's the promise. But of course it never happens. So in this thing of Ra, law of one, all you've got to do is commit and choose. Then you will ascend to that fourth density. Either one. I don't think the two orientations really go together in the same world, because they're a bit mutually opposing. The one will destroy the other. So there seems to be a bit of a separation that happens, as far as I understand. Or you can choose. Actually, I don't want to choose. If you don't choose, the vast majority of the planet will not choose. So they don't have this awareness. They won't watch videos like this. They don't feel the urgency. They will fall asleep into another cycle of 25,000 years. I'm sure in 25,000 years everybody will wake up. But for this ascension, for this harvest now, it's quite minimal. Not many. So guys, what you want to do is look around at the world and the craziness, and just know that it's okay. It's on time. This is what you've been waiting for. This is what you were born for. Buckle in. It's going to be a rough ride, probably for a little while structures collapse. Not all, but you will see cracks showing. And what you want to do is, okay, here's going to be a list of things you can do. Number one is choose your orientation and start to focus on it. So once you've chosen that, so now let's assume now that we are here, we're going to go forward to fourth density love vibration. So how do we manage this time? So just know that you've chosen. So rest into the peace of knowing I'm chosen, and I don't have to fix this world. This is big, guys. You don't have to fix this. This world is unfixable. This third density, there's nothing you have to do. So you might be looking for a purpose. What can I do? How do I change? No. Some of you will work in the world, but the moment you think that there's something outside of you that you have to do, that's a 3D way of thinking. Eckhart Tolle talks about this quite often. He says your primary purpose is the inner purpose, finding the deep I, and then following from that and being present. And your secondary purpose is anything in the world. But if you put the secondary purpose first, you'll have lost your way. So that is the thing here. Lightworkers, we are very, at this time, guys, why are we so confused? Why are lightworkers so in pain? It's because a lot of the stuff that we used to do is also being broken. A lot of the stuff, a lot of our powers and our processes and other, it's been based on the past few thousand years of darkness, that we had to ritualize stuff, we had to accommodate a third density. It's falling apart. It's the old no longer way, and we have to go more into the heart. And the heart does not know, is not consciously knowing, but it's an inner knowing. It, as Tolle says, it's like it's from the fullness of life. You live from the fullness of life. That does not know from one day to the next really what it's doing, unless, for instance, planning. Okay, today we're going to plan. But what actually comes through is not in your power. So you want to start surrendering that power, but surrendering to the moment of what is. And give up and let go with relief. Thank God, I don't have to try and change anybody. Don't have to try and preach anything to people, or change anything, even a political system or social system. If you're drawn to, from the fullness of your being, to work on a political system or social system, then do it. But be careful in there of becoming attached into outcome and of making others into enemies. So here's another this is hugely important, guys. Service to others means recognizing others as yourself. So there's no enemy. Even those who are opposing you, you've got to find that Christ-like energy, even just a trace of it, to say, oh, even that person is hurting, even though I feel triggered, I know he or she is me. I'm willing to look at this connection. I'm going to not project evil or wrongdoing onto that person. But you can still, here, guys, you can still boundary yourself from them. But you're not taking like an identity level or making it personal that that's the evil one. Because then you've bought into 3D again. Then you're buying into to the old way, and you'll stay stuck. So you're going to let go. So we don't really know who's the evil ones. And I know I'm triggered by some people in the news. But my practice then is to watch them and say, that too is me. If I'm in his shoes and with his upbringing, and I know I might do the same thing. I can see his beautiful reason for doing that. Everybody has a beautiful reason for what they do, even if it's not very nice things. They're trying to achieve something beautiful. For instance, you might be the ruler of a country that once was really, really great, and is still quite great. And now you want to recapture that greatness and unite the people more. So you will then maybe invade another country nearby who you consider to be your territory, to unite them back, so you can be greater, so you can have your empire back. Now this particular person I'm talking about kind of triggers me, because I see it as very much not part of the new earth, that mentality. But when I sit and meditate on him, I can see his beautiful reason, which is unity. Just the way he goes about it is perhaps not in tune with the new earth, but it has a beautiful cause. So I don't have to agree with him. I can draw boundaries. So if it was my country that was invaded by him, I would certainly go out and fight, as that country is doing that I'm talking about. But notice that they are not the country that's been invaded, that's fighting back. They're simply drawing a boundary. They're not making it a big moral light against dark thing. They'll say as soon as you get back across the border, the war ends. It's clean. So that becomes important, guys, that you are allowed your boundary. You have to do boundaries. Boundaries become very important in this time. But you want to avoid moralizing the boundary, to say I'm good and they're evil. But if you do, you buy into the same thing. Guys, here's another thing. The Atlantean Connection, that fell partly because of the split of light and dark and each side blaming the other. So even though if you're on the light side in Atlantis, you would have in your heart believed the others, you would have tried to push them away as not you. Okay, I'm throwing a lot in here, but the other thing that's triggering us, if you've had a history of Atlantis, so here's the other interesting thing, you will be triggered by this stuff because you really want to leave. You want to finish this. This is really the end of your cycle. Here's the interesting thing. Where we are astrologically now, we're moving from age of Pisces into Aquarius. You picture the zodiac like this circle, Pisces and Aquarius. If you go directly across, you end up at Virgo into Leo, and that was the time of the fall of Atlantis and the end of the last ice age, 12,500 years ago. So the same axis is being triggered, which means we now have a chance to work with that same energy. That same energy is coming through, and it's to do with power, it's to do with othering, it's to do with light versus dark, it's to do with duality. Can we now do differently than we did before? That's if you have the light, if your light work pedigree is through Atlantis, and everything that happened before then, this duality, then now is an important time to clean up one's act on the issue of power and othering. Other thing of what to do is to choose. In my notes for this, I had vote, the word vote. If you live in a country where you can vote, vote. But there are other ways to vote. Now, why is this important? Choice, free will choice. You've got to decide, show up and decide something. Stand for something. And stand for something that is greater than just your personal needs. So stand for freedom. Stand for democracy, whatever, without getting into fights with others, unless you standing for that freedom means you have to separate yourself. That's quite a complicated part here, but just bear with me. Sometimes you have to fight for it. But vote. And so what the dark side will do, so now the service to others, the service to self rather, will try to keep you, because they need minions, right? They want you for their minion. And if you're like a love and light kind of person, but innocent, you will be fair game for them because your guard won't be up. I'm saying keep your guard up. And one of the things you want to do is vote. Use your free will choice, every option you have, and choose for the world you want. That means when you go to the grocery shop, buy the food that is most healthy and most healthily grown. So if you have a choice, if you can buy organic and that feels right to you, do that. If you need to eat meat, can it be organic or free range? This is the way you bring choice into every aspect of life, so that no aspect is you turning a blind eye to other stuff, because that's another thing that will drag us back into the thing. Turning a blind eye to other people who are making choices for us. So see, here's how you give away your power. You allow others to make choices for you. So it becomes quite, you have to really make it everything. Like choosing plastics. Can we recycle? Do we need plastics? Everything, like clothes. Do you need a new set of clothes? Or we're not cluttering up the world. You see, you can't move to this new earth and new thing if you are casting a blind eye to things that are hurting the earth, and where you are actually acting as service to self. Do you see how service to self is intertwined and will capture you in the things that you don't want to look at? In one country or several countries that I'm thinking about, where they have big strong leaders, they've been encouraged. They might have so-called democracy, but they've been encouraged over years to hand over power more and more to the big leader, and they've done so because the big leader has promised greatness. So now they don't have a choice anymore. So they are very much a part of a service to self culture, unless they can find a way to bring back power into themselves. And they can do that. It's not that you have to overthrow the government, but if you're one of these countries, start by choosing the food you eat, what you watch on TV, what you believe. In that way, you'll bring back power to you, into yourself. So free will is part of it. Otherwise, you service to self, or you'll get eaten by the service to self. Okay, I'm rambling a bit there, but get it. Okay, so vote in every possible way, from what you wear to what you eat to your politics. Practice presence, my friend. That's the best one. Just be without thought. Just be in presence. Trust the heart. 3, you can just clean up karma. So that it is family karma or karma from your tribe, as it were. It's possible. If you need to do a bit of therapy, just to talk through some stuff, so you can let it go. Let go of the debts. Let go of the gripes. Let go the judgments. If there's family members you can let go of because they're not part of where you're going, just quietly, just walk on by. That's if just walk on by, don't engage. Disengage from the arguments and the fights. That's old stuff. It will not serve you. So you're going to clean up your act psychologically. Vote, be present, and clean up your act psychologically. Oh yes, don't judge. Don't judge others. Avoid judging. Now we can't just suddenly give up judging because it's part of our mind will do that. But can you temper it with at least looking for the beautiful reason of the other person? That will soften you, bring you back into the heart and your compassion, and that's enough. That's enough to get you through to the 4th density service to others. Okay. Now perhaps the last thing I'll mention is, don't have to get this right. This can sound like a huge flippant task, like you've got to be a master. No. The only purpose of this past 75,000 years of 3rd density has been to get humans to a point where you're in a position to make a choice. Where do I want to go? 4th density, love, or do I want to stay in 3rd density? And if I want to go to 4th, which do I choose? Service to self or service to others? And that just means, like, for service to others, all you have to have is 51% of your actions are service to others orientated. In other words, love frequency. Not much, but it means a little bit of a commitment to it. You just have to start committing. So I can really stress that. Start the commitment. Start your meditative practice. Start caring. Start choosing. Start blessing everybody. Start blessing the food. Start blessing the world. Start blessing this crumbling of the world and everybody in it. Awaken just a trace of compassion. That's all. Because when we move into 4th density, then starts another. This is longer. 4th density is longer than 3rd density. So we've got, if you choose that, you have thousands of years to work on spiritual development. It'll be in a much nicer environment as well. 3rd density is really the shittest place of the universe to be. But it's the place where you learn quickest. That's why it's very short. Some people would love to stay here because they're still working with the system. They're getting a lot of pleasure from it. So that's great. But those who are not having fun, you want to go to the next one. And the next one is much more harmonious because you're learning lessons of love. Your body has high light levels. DNA just works better. So your health issues are not there. But now, guys, here's also why this world is crazy now, because you've got in one time, one place. This is very rare. This is why I wanted to be here, guys. This is fascinating. This is like fireworks time, because you have all these intersecting people choosing and intersecting realities, intersecting timelines. You've got tourists from a lot of you light workers and wanderers are just flippant tourists. You've come here, but not quite tourists, but you come here with work and a business mission, just to elevate the light frequency, to enable this shift and to kind of ride a certain timeline, or to help enable a certain splitting off of timelines into this fourth density service to others. Once it's done, you're done. You can choose where next. So when I talk about light workers, there's lots of different patterns. The one is just to complete the old Atlantean thing, to complete the ancient history of Earth. If you've been of the Earth for a long time, you want to complete that now. And that is simply light and dark. We want to transcend light and dark. If you're old Atlantean, be present, be in the now, be in the place beyond good and evil. If you're a wanderer who's just come here for this session, this time, also do the same thing, just meditate and be present. And you don't have to go out in the world and do anything. Just by your frequency, your vibe. Read Power versus Force by Hawkins. You will talk there about how one person resonating at frequency of love counterbalances thousands of people vibrating at lesser frequencies. So you just own your frequency. Your work is just to remember your home frequency and beam it out to the world. Compassion for yourself, compassion for others. That's why you're here. And you say, wow, I'm supposed to be doing something in the world. No, guess what, guys? This world is so, who you are is so vast. Anything you do here is just, it's like a dream. It doesn't, you could be powerful, you could run the greatest country on earth, you could have the most money, it would be like nothing compared to who you are. So nothing you can do really is equal to anywhere near who you are. So rather just sit here and broadcast the frequency, and if that frequency brings you into some action and speaking to people or teaching or changing the world, then that's wonderful. If not, just know that your job is being done anyway by you owning your frequency. And adopt a spiritual practice, become even more into your spiritual practice, guys. Do meditation, do your walking meditation, whatever it is, do your yoga, whatever brings you back into the frequency, and just hold that frequency and just bless the world and bless yourself for not knowing and forgetting. It's okay, you do know, because your frequency is here. Your presence is here. Even if your mind sometimes overlays it, even if you forget, you still are the channel for divine frequencies, which changes the planet. This is pivotal life. This is why we're here. It's the biggest show of anywhere around. So we've got to enjoy it and be with your pain, be with your confusion. It's not forever. This will settle and the new earth will take shape. Travel light. Give up things you don't need. Connect with your tribe. Be present. And then your job is done. Sure, I hope that helped. Send me your questions, write your questions in the comments, and of course, like and subscribe.